I was reading about. Good. I'm
yeah.
glad that you shared that. All right. I call the meeting to order at 5:07 p.m. And attending is Fred Haynes, Don Wright, Eileen Sheridan, Laura Ingham, myself, Dan Millard, and Claire Kellogg, Mo Copeland, and Linda Ackerson.
Good for you.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Move that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And then moving on to public comments. No one's in attendance to do that? Yeah, you come later. Okay. And so moving on to item number 4, Library Director's Report. Mo.
Okay. So I forgot to attach the statistics with the agenda, so I gave that to you today. And as has kind of been the pattern lately, the checkouts have been down a little bit. And even with the increase in the ebook, it's not really bringing us back up. So it's about 91 or 92% of where it was just a year ago. So the door count is pretty consistent, and that's at 98% of last year. But I asked some of the directors just recently, it came up in our directors meeting, and some of them are a little bit down like us, and then a couple of the others are like way up, you know? And so just different traffic patterns, I don't know.
I know here that sent to other libraries is down about 9,000, so that means that the traffic generally that we do is kind of down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I don't really know what that's telling us, though.
Yeah,
Exactly
right.
is the thing. It's like so we have the statistic, but what is it telling us? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, we made a little bit more money than this time last year. The cultural pass is steady and up a little bit. So, more or less, we're still doing a heck of a lot of traffic, which is great. And the events in April, Happy was really fun.
Oh, really? Yes.
Fun film to see because it's all about basically satisfaction with life and contentedness and all that stuff. It was really good. And then we had our 2 big Stafford events, the poetry event and the event with Kim Stafford, which was the event with Kim Stafford was at Atkinson Church, which I shouldn't have had it there because I didn't need the space, but it's still a really nice setting, because they've got the slope seats and it's just a beautiful building. So even though there were like only 30 people there, it was still really a lovely evening, and he was very good. I would have him back in a heartbeat. He was very, very good. And then we were a location for people to pick up books for World Book Night, which what you do at World Book Night is you take a box of books to a place where people don't think about reading, like a grocery store, and you hand out books for free.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a cool thing. So we didn't do it, but we had people come to our library and pick up boxes of books, and Linda was in charge of that. And there was about 10 people? 14 people who chose our location to pick up boxes.
Fun.
So that was kind of nice. And then the I Love My Library contest has been extended, and we've actually been getting, in the last couple of days, a few more entries, but we're still really, really, but we finally got a preschool entry, but we don't have a middle school or a teen entry at all. But we do have, a few in the elementary and the adult, so we'll have enough to give a prize. But, Sue was like, don't we want to display them? And I'm like, and show the world how few entries we have? No, let's not. Let's not do that. And then Reading Relit, which is that program we started in February, actually is still going well. And that gets a winner once a month, just out of a raffle thing. So that's kind of fun. And then, so we had our annual Oregon Library Association conference, and that was really good this year. I don't know why, but it was just like a lot of things came together. Sometimes they're like that. And the author of the world's strongest librarian, Josh Hargraves or something like that. No, Harnigan or something. He came. Well, he's about 6'6", and he suffers from Tourette's. And he works in Salt Lake City, and he's Mormon. And he just was very a fabulous speaker. He was so good. I mean, we're all crying. He was so good because he was really opened his heart and talked about things very deeply. And wow, that was something. And then Phil Margolin came for the Public Library Division banquet, which is always on the first night. And you know, he came and spoke for us earlier this year. And he's an author that's, you know, very, very well known, and he does these things for free just because he likes libraries and librarians. And I mean, he was sold quite a few books, which was great, but he was really good this year. He's done a lot for us. And then I presented at, like, I more or less facilitated a couple of sessions, but one of them was a makerspace session, which was really fun. I had 3 panelists. 2 of them were from public libraries. One of them was from Lake Oswego, and one from Cedar Mill Library, and then one from OSU. And Lake Oswego, Todd Feynman came, and he brought their 3D printer, and it was printing the whole time that were talking, and it was just really great because a lot of people there had never seen a 3D printer. And we talked about kind of the range of like maker ideas. And he, you know, included his illustration classes that he does at Lake Oswego all the way to, you know, they kind of do 2 ends of the spectrum there. And there's not that much in between, well, at least that he's in charge of. There may be lots that is in between. But anyway, and then they do this makerspace, or the 3D stuff, you know. And then at Cedar Mill Library, they've got a different emphasis. They have like these kits where they have video recorders and sound recording and stuff like that you can check out. And so and then at OSU they have a 3D printer that's set up on a webcam, so you can like watch it printing stuff. You don't have to be there.
Well, when they say they have a makerspace, do they actually have a physical space? I know Lake Oswego doesn't have a physical
Right. So
space.
Lake Oswego does not, and Cedar Mill does not, and it looked like at OSU Library, they basically had a table. You know, so the space part of it is like really left open to definition. You know, I think everybody would love to have a creative technology room of some sort, but what people are doing is they're like doing what they can with what they have. So, and they're really just crazy about experimenting. They're just like, well, you know, it's not that much money. Like, let's say $2,000 for this project, and let's just see where it goes. You know, because you can buy a 3D printer these days for like $1,200.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the little ones. So, I mean, it's not like you can just not research it, but, you know, it's not like you're buying a building or something. You know, you can buy it and then see how it goes. Now, I'm not ready to buy one for our library because, I mean, like, really, we are like so tight. We are wedged in there. And I think it would be kind of ridiculous. But,
Could print an edition.
there you go.
Oh, that's thinking outside the box, don't.
Yeah.
Small box.
Very small box, but hey.
But it was just interesting to get everybody's take on it, and everybody's take is really different, you know. And at OSU, she was really cute. She said, well, we are an academic library, so you know what that means. We had to form a committee first, right? And then the committee had to study the problem. And, you know, and it was great. But they bought a really nice 3D printer. It's called MakerBot. It's kind of, I've heard of it a lot. But it really is like maybe the only one on campus that's open to the public and the general citizenry of the students there. So even though they have several around, there's not a lot that people can view. And that's part of it, is just like viewing the possibilities, you know, discovering what's possible in the newest technology. So that was really, really fun. And then, as I listed in my report, the standards were adopted, the new standards, and I really need to like go through them and analyze what that means to us for the new building. But there is no longer any formula that says you shall have according to your population.
Why was there a change in that?
Because we did not believe, the committee and the public library directors did not believe that really was a qualitative kind of thing. I mean, it's just like, where did this formula even come from? You know, it was like there was no definition, there was no documentation of where that came from. And although nobody is doubting the fact that you need space to have a library, and that a formula might help you when you come in front of a board or a council or something, you still need to be able to back it up. And if it doesn't come from anything but air, what good is it going to do you? So we pledged, I'm going to be the chair of the Public Library Division of the Oregon Library Association next year. So it's like a 3-year gig or whatever that you get on for. And we pledged to review these every single year, because they hadn't been looked at in whole for a really long time. And so there were things that had been updated more or less recently, but it wasn't a really well integrated document, and that's what we were trying to get to.
Do I remember that these came from the 80s or something?
No, they weren't that old.
Not that old?
No, not most of it anyway.
Goodness me.
I mean, the format might have gone back that far. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So we tried to really revamp the format and everything else so you could almost end up with like a checklist, and then really see what do I need to work on, really clearly see. So that's our goal for our next step, to have a really good index and a really good checklist. So that was good. The conference was really good. And then at the network level, we're having a change in leadership there. So we're getting Greg Williams, who most recently worked at West Lynn Library, and he was their technology guru over there. So we're very excited to have him. And Kwong left on May 5th. And so that's taking place. And so it's going to be very interesting to see. And there's going to be 2 new library directors, one at Sandy and one at Molalla before. Yeah, 2 people are retiring.
Huh.
Yeah, and Sandy is hiring another person that left the West Lynn Library. So it's all going to be very interesting very soon at our directors group meetings. Yes.
Who did Sandy hire?
Sarah McIntyre. You know her?
No, not personally.
She was at West Lynn for a long time. And then the summer reading brochures are out. And
Forgot to bring some.
I forgot to bring some too. That's
Who's
what
the
I.
illustrator this year for the public?
Oh, God, I don't.
Sorry.
Fizz Boom.
Fizz Boom Reed. I
Yeah,
don't remember
something like
who's
that.
the illustrator. The illustrations were not that good, actually. But Michelle came up with a great flyer anyway, so.
Yeah, the flyer looks great. So any questions about that part of the report or the statistics or anything? Okay.
Okay, so building update.
All right, so I just wanted to make sure everybody was kind of up to speed on what's been happening, because since we last met, we had a tour of a large group of people, including a couple commissioners, library board members, and we went to 3 libraries. Fort Vancouver, they call their main one Vancouver Community Library is what they call it. We went there first and we're really wowed. I mean, it's a great library. And then we went to Camas, which is an older building. It's not as old as ours, but it has been added onto. And then we went to Hood River, which is a Carnegie. That was built like a year before ours or the same year as ours. And they're all 3 very, very different libraries. And we mostly all loved Fort Vancouver Community Library. Wouldn't you say, Claire, that we all love that?
Yeah,
Eileen?
it was lovely.
Yeah.
Totally
And then mixed reactions on the other 2. There were things to like in the other 2, but I think we all kind of thought, oh, I'm kind of glad ours isn't going to necessarily look like that. Yeah.
It's good to know.
The addition,
yeah,
the
exactly.
additions had like nice features to them, but overall, we're kind of like, oh, I
They
think we.
seemed more concerned about the remodel than the functionality. I mean, it just seemed like trying to make it work,
Yeah.
and there wasn't anything that really made you go, wow, this
Yeah.
is...
None
this
of
was
the
worth your
additions
money.
were really very good looking from the outside.
Right.
And the functionality on the inside was, well, in Camas, it was very, very choppy. Very choppy.
Yeah.
And very bland. There's a lot of beige walls.
It looked like it
Lots.
wasn't finished. There
beige
was a lot
walls.
of things that looked incomplete. or wanting something.
yeah.
It didn't look finished.
Let's just say the wow factor was like about 10%. And we want to hit like 100, you know? Yeah. So anyway, so that was really good though, and it was really great to be like, the city manager was along, and like I said, a couple commissioners. It was really great to have that group, you know, to be out there and really looking at things. So that was fun. And then a week or so later, I went to Colorado and got to spend 2 days with our architects, which was a blast. And we saw 8 libraries, and I met a couple of library directors that just knocked my socks off. And it was just really instructive and informative and made me want to change everything.
Good. Well, we're ready.
Yeah,
Lead us
so having Dennis as one of our architects, Dennis Humphreys from Denver, is so cool because he's worked on 70 libraries and 8 of them were Carnegie's, and he knows everybody out there. You know, he has so many good connections. So all the libraries that we saw, his firm had worked on in one way, shape, or form. And the ones that I mean, there were several that I thought we could get ideas from, but the one that I really, really super loved, and we'll do like a little slideshow review just for fun, was the Anythink Library at Wrights Farm, because, well, now they're a library district, their own library district. Like, the director who I met is really like the queen of the whole district. You know, she gets to make all the decisions, or what, you know, she can say, we're going to do, I mean, she has a board like you guys, but she can say, we're going to go to bookstore headings, and, you know, she doesn't have like pushback from a bunch of other entities. You know, it's kind of like her. And I'm not.
This law.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Is
a
this
little.
what you want?
It's no. I'm not sure. I want that much power and glory. Oh yeah, the glory I do, not the power. It's just districts. Things that are really true districts operate a little differently than like how we're set up. You know, so we're in a consortium and in a county service district. One is our funding, one is our governance, one is our sharing. You know, it's like a real melding. But when you're in a library district like Deschutes, they're it. You know, they do all their HR, they do all their finance, they're all a unit, you know, unto themselves. And so it just makes for, you know, if you want to rebrand yourself. Nobody's stopping you but the money. You know, here I would say, well, I mean, we'd have to like, okay, if we come up with a completely different logo than the city, I think the city would want to, you know, have some input on it and know about it. And we may not get any pushback. I'm not saying that we would, but
The neighborhood group and
yeah, I mean,
business areas.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, you know, it's just a different arrangement. So a lot of what I saw, they were districts. So I kind of want to keep that in mind as we go through this. But she did completely rebrand, you know, the thing to Anythink, you know, and Deschutes actually does something like this. They call it KNOW, know. It's like know this, know that. And there's like OCLC does this thing out there that geek this, geek that. You know, it's like a different way to say, you know, we have content in here. Let us draw you into it. But she's gone with the bookstore model. And it's not just the bookstore headings, which is called BISAC, which is bookstore something or other headings, which means that, you know, every single item has a label. It's not like it's not labeled. It's not like a bookstore where you go in and there's no labels on the books. But the label might be cooking. And then under that category, it's just alphabetized. And so you've got nice signage up on those shelves that say cooking. And if you want to move cooking around, you can move cooking around because guess what? It's not tied to Dewey numbers that have to flow in order. Yeah, and so it's much more accessible for a lot of people.
I know,
you know,
it's
even
like
though Dewey
sacrilegious. I'm sorry. I know. It's,
I mean, I have no problem with it. You know,
I don't have a problem with
where
it.
were we
It's-
before Dewey? Is like, you know, it's just another way of organizing materials.
It's so beautiful, though.
It is and it's not. You know, I was a cataloger. I get where you're coming
No,
from.
not girls.
But you know,
I-
what does it mean to the general person?
Nothing.
Nothing. It
Yeah,
means
I
nothing.
agree.
And in fact, it just
It's kind of a
confuses
pain
things.
in the
Yes,
neck.
I
Yeah,
agree.
right?
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
So we are going to look into this, and we're going to bring back to you more discussion on that. But I really liked what she did. The other thing she did, and instead of like walking into the library and just seeing kind of like walls of books, it was more like Tualatin, where it's like they were fanned in. Well, you know, just things like that are very much more inviting. You know, come explore this little alleyway. Oh, I'm faced with a wall. You know, I mean, those
Yeah.
things make major differences in the messages that you're sending. So she has incorporated a lot more marketing kind of ideas into the library. And I could tell you, it was very, very comfortable and inviting. It was so cool. So like, she also has this gorgeous shelving that's not modular, but she can like create little sections that make a little couple L's going together. And using that, she created a lot more seating areas, little nooks and crannies where you could go find a little seating area instead of just being faced with a wall of books, you know. It was broken up. It was so much more interesting visually. And the building was beautiful on the inside, and we'll look at that later. But that was probably the one I was most impressed with, but not just because of the physical layout, but because of all the things that she's done to make it really inviting. She also does not believe in security gates at all. She thinks it sends the completely wrong message. Losing some materials is just part of business. And, you know, we don't have them here. It's one of the things that RFID, which is the, you know, radio frequency tags that you can put in, that gives you the option to do security gates much better. But anyway, I mean, I was just blown away. And then the other library that I went to in Colorado Springs, that's just a mind blower. It was, it's called 21C, and it's 113,000 square feet.
That's huge.
It's huge. It's ginormous. So what they did is they, and I heard all about this when I went to Indianapolis. I sat in this session, and so I got to meet that director, and she was awesome. But they had an MCI call center that had been sitting empty for 10 years. And they needed some space, and they just started thinking big, and they started looking around, and they identified this place, then started at $10 million. She got them down to $3.75 million.
Man,
She's doing her entire remodel for $6.25 million. Whatever makes up the difference to get to $10 million, the cost of that entire thing is $10 million.
Wow.
The same as our building. And you know what? It does not look shabby at all. So what's in it? It's one of those cool buildings that it's 2 levels, but it's got the ground level wherever you go. Okay, talk about parking. Ginormous parking lots, right? Amazing, stunning view of Pikes Peak right in front of you. Then upstairs is like one half of the upstairs is devoted all to business. It's like conference rooms, copy center, all kinds of Wi-Fi, internet, anything you could imagine if you were a small business. You could even have a small conference in one of the sections that had like 4 little breakout rooms off of it in a main area. It's just like all for business because there's not enough business meeting places there. And then the other end of that floor is all about Creative Commons. It's like all these makerspace areas all over the place, including one that had the power cords coming down from the ceiling. I think I took a picture of that. I know I did. We can look at that. It is incredible. Just so it's like super flexible. And there was like a messy one of those, and there was like a clean one of those, and everything in between. And then downstairs, they were going to put their branch that was a few blocks away was going to move downstairs. And then they were a district too, so all of their district offices are going there too. And it was just like so amazing. And it was really cool looking because it's like this crazy carpeting with like orange all through it and white walls that really jumped out at you, and just a really, really amazing remodel. One of the other ones we saw in Castle Rock was an old Safeway. I mean, you would never know except for the parking. I mean, they did such a great job on it. So anyway, totally impressed with what I saw. Loved spending time with our architects. I love, love, love our architects. They're such good listeners. They would ask things like, okay, so what did you like the most out of what you saw? You know, and I'd be like, I couldn't even like think that hard. You know, I like saw so much stuff. And then we went to a Carnegie in Colorado Springs that I used to like walk by like so many days of my life, and I never even knew it was there. Because I always would go to the addition that was next door, the new part of the building. So we got like a tour through that part, and they gave us little presents of calendars that they put together with the library history, and it was gorgeous. It was stunning, but it's kind of their showcase area. It's not really used much. So anyway, it was a really interesting trip. Yeah. And then DA and I, of course, are taking off tomorrow for the Design Institute and more tours of more libraries. So we'll take lots more pictures.
Great.
Get our Flickr site all like loaded up. So the mind-breaking exercise took place, and that I was really pleased with how many people attended and who attended, and thank you all for what part you played in that. And I thought that went really, really well. I thought it was a very nice introduction to thinking about what's possible. So what I added here was all the notes. Oh, they're not coming up. But I sent those to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just so you can peruse them at some point in time. Because it's kind of interesting to see what people were thinking. And it's kind of all over the board what's important to people. But what was really nice is there was a good diversity of thought. And I think we had like, I don't know how many people the first day, like 16, 18, something.
Yeah, about that.
It was a nice number. And, you know, people had very differing opinions. It was really good.
Is it possible, if we weren't able to see the slideshow of the different libraries that they did?
I'll ask Dennis.
If we could just view it.
Yeah.
Because the notes here, I noticed it when I went through it, is, I mean.
Oh, they don't really tell you much
They don't
unless
tell
you've
you
got
much,
the context.
unless I have a context
Yeah.
of it. So I don't know if he's comfortable sharing that out with us.
I don't know. I'll
Because
find
that was
out.
shared with at the community meeting at night, correct? Okay.
Yeah, that was shared at the community.
And was it
meeting.
shared with staff too?
Yep.
Okay.
It was shared
All
with
right.
staff. So those groups that were, you know,
Yeah.
for that, they got to see that and respond to it. And
Would you check with him just to
Yeah,
see in there?
yeah.
Okay.
But I thought that went well. And I like how they work together too. And then right now what we're doing is moving forward on the CMGC, the Construction Manager General Contractor portion. And so you may recall, do you guys remember what that is? Eileen, you weren't here in those conversations, were you? So in a regular building process, an architect works with the client and they draw up the plans.
Right.
And then the contractor comes in and bids on those plans.
Right.
And really like has nothing to do with the plans, except when it gets to the like, oh, they did this wrong, we better do a change order kind of thing down the
Okay.
road, right? Just jump in whenever I'm wrong, not right. So in a construction manager general contractor, CMGC, it's an alternate way of constructing and bringing on a contractor. What you do is you bring on a contractor really, really early in the process so that they're involved with the design process.
Okay.
And so they can like look at what's going on and be a part of what's going on, make suggestions, say, you know what, steel is really expensive right now, we'd be better off going with wood. I wouldn't do it that way, that's not the way those function very well.
Okay.
You know, all those things that a contractor knows better about construction,
Right.
they get to have input on it early on in the process.
Okay.
Usually would be the cheaper process.
And it usually avoids a lot of the change orders at the end.
Correct.
And it saves you money. That's the whole.
Okay.
So, but because you're not out there like getting the lowest bid, because you do a different thing, because you don't know how much it's going to be before
Right.
you really get into the process, right? You have to say to the world, we think this is good for our project, and here's why. And so we have to have a public hearing. And so that we don't really want to do anything until the bond passes.
Correct.
So we have to advertise 14 days ahead, I think is what it is. So we've got it timed out where we're going to advertise on Wednesday that we're going to have this public hearing to review our findings for this alternate kind of construction, and then we'll have the findings available, and then we'll have the hearing on June 4th. At the same time, we are posting our RFP, which is a request for proposal for contractors, on May 21st and 23rd, because the city requires it to be posted twice, published twice. So this
Okay.
goes to the Daily Journal of Commerce, where all these kinds of things are published. And on both of those things, it says, if the bond passage doesn't happen, these are no good. But I have to turn those things in before I knew the outcome, if we want them to be posted on the 21st. And the reason we want the RFP for the CMGC posted really quickly is because the law for it changes on July 1st. And we want to have entered into a contract with the contractor by July 1st. So we're kind of like making sure that this process goes really, really quickly. So we're hoping to have interviews like on June 12th.
Who's we?
So far we is me, Charlie, the project manager, who's kind of doing all this work. Well, most of it, I'm doing some of it. Sid, the architect, because it's really, really important that the contractor and the architect work together on this, because you don't want duplication and blah, blah, blah. Denise McGriff, who's been in on all of the other interviews to date.
Yes, right.
And she's a McLaughlin Neighborhood Association president, and so I find some real symmetry in having her on the third one. Tony Conkle or Christina Robertson Gardner, who are from Community Development Planning Department, because they have a lot to do with this project moving forward. And then DA, I'm hoping you're available, but I haven't checked.
I'll be available.
Great. So that'd be plenty of us. That'd be 6 of us. And it kind of represents, the library board, the city, the architect, project manager, the community. So I think that kind of covers all of our bases.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be very, very tight though, because proposals are due on June 6th, and we're hoping to turn around and invite people to the interviews like the following Monday. It's going to be very tight.
Believe me, they will be eager to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who turns in a proposal will be glad to get right on with the interview.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the deadline is June 6th, but we will get some before then, and we can read them as we get them, as well. So
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to get them all right at the very
Really?
beginning, yes. Nobody
Well-
wants to tip their hand.
oh, okay. All right.
It's going to be a
See-
great big poker game
Uh,
for the contractors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're going to have our weekend cut out for us. And then we'll, and we're only going to interview like 3 to 5. I don't know what our final number is, but we have to limit ourselves somehow. We can't, interview for 4 days. So that seems reasonable, doesn't it? Charlie was like 3 to 5.
That's 5 is maximum. You
That's
don't-
that's what he said, yeah.
It'll sort itself out in the written
Yep.
proposal pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Who the top dogs are.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing he's doing is he's attaching all the contractual stuff with the proposal, so that if they have any problem with the contract, speak now or forever hold your peace, because this is what we're going to have you sign. So that's what he's busy trying to do that now, and having Sid the architect look at it, because those two things have to come together. So like Sid's contract will be like a mirror of, he'll do the things that the contractor doesn't do. You see what I mean? There can be a lot of overlap in some of those jobs. We don't want duplication, we want integration.
Well put. That's well put.
Thank you.
Yes.
It took a few months, but it finally sunk into my head what is
You got the
going on
pattern
here.
going, okay.
Yeah. So that'll be great, because that'll be like the third leg of our team, as far as the project manager, the architect, and the contractor. And so far, I'm really pleased with our architects and our project manager.
Tell.
Good.
Yeah, it's going really well. So like Charlie and I got together with our city attorney and went through this whole thing and said, okay, you do this, and this, and I mapped out the timeline, and we're all good to go. So everybody's doing their part. So we want to get in before that deadline of July 1 is what's key, because of this, the statute changes, and it will be a lot harder to like pass this apparently and get it, you know, the requirements will become stricter.
Isn't it funny about we have all this time that we've been working on getting to this point, and then we have to have a fast finish?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. So anyway, so that's going on. That's big. That's huge. And then we'll be able to do the other contracts once we know the what's happening with that. Then that puts the architect one in place as well, essentially, and then we'll do the big one with the project manager too. So then all will be in place. And then a couple things that we did at the library is, you know, we bought that parking lot, and people kept on whining and whining and whining about parking. You know, it kept on coming up in these conversations about how there's no parking. And it's like, you know what? Why did I not do this 6 months ago when we bought the parking lot? But staff, you're parking in the parking lot. And, you know, it really does open up a lot more space on the street. And we can't control right now the people that want to park there all day and walk downtown to work, which is what some people still do. But to me, and also the other thing we did is, like, there was a couple spaces across the street by the fire station that said "Save for Carnegie staff."
Yeah.
We took that down. It's like, what? Why does this save for Carnegie staff? They can walk
Especially
a little.
since there's only like 2 spaces anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that whole thing now is open for, you know, and it's not like we're walking farther, really. Not really. It's just in a different direction.
I'm wondering, and when I looked at the parking at the library, are we looking at that right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we?
Yeah.
I was really curious about why the side on Jefferson Street that borders the library park and the library, why is that all day parking when there's no residences there? And will that ever be changed to 2 hours?
Well, so I'm hoping that one of the things we do is change that to 2 hour.
Okay,
And
that would make
I don't
sense.
think it will have a huge problem, but you know that one big house in the middle of the street, that's a clinic. And
Okay.
there are people that work there that park on the street all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if the side right in front of them's all day,
I think all of Jefferson on that block should
Looks
be
like it is.
be 2 hour. Especially if we end up with an entrance up
Yeah,
there,
it's under
which is still,
the
of course,
documents.
obviously up in the air.
yeah. Okay. I just was wondering that when I looked at it, and that 2 hour makes sense.
2 hour makes a lot of sense.
Sure does.
Yeah. So there might be some other places that we suggest some changes to, but I'll wait until we get farther down the road
Okay.
with that.
Is the acquired
bottom, there you go.
parking the one that's on Jefferson?
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's the
Mhm.
new one? Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Live Manager
City lot.
lost its connection.
Okay.
Okay. Are we done looking at the parking?
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question? How do
Sure.
we get on with getting the city to start analyzing the change to 2 hour parking?
I think Nancy Bush, who is the parking enforcement person,
Okay.
is already starting to look at it. But I think that will be like a recommendation that comes out of architect stuff.
Do we need, as the board, to make any kind of recommendation about that?
It's one of the biggest topics that we have. You know,
Right.
it's definitely going to get looked at.
So, or maybe we're just too early in the process then?
We're either too early or too late. You know what I mean? It's like either we should have done something a long time ago to like help people out with their parking, or we will do it as it evolves. Yeah, because like right now, I mean, I think there's quite a few spaces out there. The other thing that I really am convinced of, though, is that part of the reason that people say we have a parking problem is that we don't have handicap parking, and they have to walk pretty far to use the drop box. And those are things that we can fix in, you know, the whole new thing. And that will be addressed. So, and I think that will really help as well. Like if we had a couple of express spots, like some other libraries do, that you could just, you know, run right to the box that's like right there or something, you know. So I think that would really help. Then you wouldn't have to worry about your kids that are in the car just while you drop off books.
That's right.
And maybe have some additional drop boxes out in the community. So, like I said, some of these things are either like we're too early or we're too late, you know.
Well, my concern is that we may need we may need more parking, and we don't really know too much about what we could project. So I'm wondering if pushing the conversion of the all-day parking into 2-hour, pushing that along now before, so we have like the summer and the fall before construction starts.
To think about it.
To find out how
Right.
it works, and
So-
if it's solving the problem or not.
There's like two things going on here, what we're required to have and what we really need. You know, and like on any one day, it could be what we're required to have, the need could be above or below, right?
Right.
So what we're required to have is probably going to be about 60 spaces, which those 19 spaces that we have will be included in that. And that's based on 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. And it's just kind of an average of like.
But that's
well-
our code requirement then, yeah.
Well, it's not actually in the code, so what they do is they look around at other places and what they've done, and that's pretty par for the course, you know. So, you know, the parking study, one of the reasons it said with the acquiring that parking lot gets us past 60 spaces. If you count the spaces that are on the street around there and the ones right across the street, we're well within 60 spaces. It may not be that those spaces are used very well. You know, like people hate to parallel park. They don't do a very good job of it. They don't get very close. People come and go. You know, diagonal parking may be a better use of the space because it's more defined. Not that it gets you more spaces necessarily, but that it's more defined.
Right.
So there's a lot to think about with that. And so part of it is perception, and then of course there's always times when we absolutely need more parking. And we might, you know, who knows, maybe we could expand the parking over at the Pioneer Center. That could give us some more shared spaces or something, you know. So
Well,
there's
there's-
other possibilities as well.
Well, this is a time frame where we can find out
We could experiment, yeah.
experimentally.
So, well, let me look into that.
But be aware that when the construction starts, it's going to be.
Oh, well, yeah.
tough.
I mean,
So-
it'll be terrible then, but you
Right.
know, we expect it to be terrible then.
I mean, we'll try
Yeah.
and deal with that, but the little time frame we have now is a good opportunity to find out if that is enough. If the
Yeah.
change, if that change could be implemented early enough.
Right, at least on
So-
Jefferson Street.
Well,
Yes.
it starts a mind thought process for some people that expect it's gonna be an all-day parking too.
There's
Yeah.
lots of people that do that and walk downtown. I see
Yeah.
them every morning. There's
Yep,
at least
yeah,
half a
we see
dozen.
'em.
Well, I'm
And,
sure, I mean, I feel sorry
It's a
for
lot
them,
of
but in
spots.
one way, that's.
Well, it's not our
It's not
problem
our
kind of
problem,
thing, yeah.
yeah.
Well, and there are other all-day spots, like if you go straight across the street, across 7th, it's all day right there on Jefferson too. You know, that's like 10 paces away. It's just, you know, you have to cross 7th.
What about the senior center, the Pioneer Center parking? That's just for the Pioneer Center, though.
It's not really marked that way.
It says Pioneer. It is marked that way, and so I never parked there.
Well, it says it says Pioneer Center. It doesn't say if you go in, you have to be going to the Pioneer Center to use it. It does not say that. There
Well,
are spaces in
certainly,
there.
If it says Pioneer Center parking, I interpret it like I
It's
must.
a city lot. I
So
mean,
if we change the signs somehow that showed that it's for other parking, that would really help too.
well, potentially.
Then there's all that grass just to
Well,
the,
that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last piece of this is what, Don, what you mentioned before you
These
left.
part right in here, but this part right in there. Wow.
So what you mentioned before you left the mine-breaking meeting was
Moving the house?
moving the house.
Yes.
Which it takes a little bit more effort to do. And it seems to me that if we engaged in doing that or going down that road, we'd really want to know that we were going to get value for doing it. I think it's a great idea, but.
Yeah.
but
Well, that's a huge,
There's some issues.
huge deal. Yeah.
And-
There's
and
some
we'd have
issues
to-
for sure.
We'd have to be we'd really have to know that when we got that done, it was worth doing.
Yeah.
Something we're not talking over Tinger.
I mean, I think
So-
people would like to see it moved for different reasons than
Yes.
parking. You know, the city would love to give it to the national parks, but that it has to be fixed up in order for that to happen,
Yeah.
and that's what they're raising money for.
It would be nice to move it for the other historic house next to it. They would probably like parking too.
Yeah, they probably
for
would like
them.
parking too.
So my thinking was to try to approach this in a stage where we can upgrade the street parking and then find out if we should be moving forward on suggesting a move with
Yeah,
that.
well, I've got it down to look into. Cool. All right, I lost my
Train of
meeting.
thought.
I lost my meeting over here.
All right, so we,
You just did building update, bond update.
any
Yeah.
other comments on
No,
building update? Okay.
I think we're up to communication.
I think we're actually up to library visits, the review of the Flickr site photos.
Oh, yeah, okay, so,
Oh, you got a slideshow
hold on.
first.
But
Well,
I tried the hyperlink, but it didn't work. I don't know if it was supposed to.
whoa. Now, you guys should be able to, I'm gonna pull it up here, and you guys should be able to like click your switch.
Switch, yeah, once.
Yeah, once this is going.
To the left, this one? Mm-hmm. To the
Once
left.
it's going, yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait.
We'll flip it over and then it should be.
Good.
Turn it off.
No, just flip it to the left.
No signal.
Yeah, I see that.
Hey,
Renee's here.
here she comes.
I lost my meeting. Oh, wow. That doesn't matter? Oh, here it came back. Nope. It keeps losing its connection. Yeah.
There we go.
Here we go.
Bingo.
You got it? There it is. But Renee, this is not working on this computer. So, I don't know if it's recording back there or what, because this is like died.
It's weird because I want to scroll.
And there's, it's all grayed out. I mean, I could try to start over, but I did.
Yeah, I actually saw the,
Okay, okay.
what's the new one? It's over.
So this is this is the Anythink Library
In Wright Farms.
at Wright Farms, yeah.
I like the name.
I know. Yeah, that was actually Wright Farms. So you can see at this one here that there's, monitor, which is very nice. When you walk in, what I learned is that,
Curves.
lots of curves and lots of angles and very few straight lines in this library. One of the things that people really think is good is to make sure people get rid of all their items that they're returning to the library immediately before they really get into the library proper. So you enter the library, you're empty, you're ready to take on new stuff. And the other thing is that you probably know from marketing is that the eye is drawn to the right. Most people look to the right when they come in to any kind of building. And so what you want to do is you want to put your the stuff you want people to see, you want it on the right. So what you'll see on this picture here, go away, is that these are the popular materials and there's this nice little seating area. And actually, Dennis had a picture of this with people sitting there. This over here that's a service desk and they're very small. And I love them to death. They create such a little barrier between the patron and the librarian. It's just a completely different experience. So I don't want to make anybody dizzy. But this here, that's the wall to the children's room. So it's just a little bit behind. You can see it in the next picture. This is the same wall. On this side, on the left side over here, the teen area is behind one of those walls. And over here, it's not like it matches or anything, right? It's a completely different looking wall. And it's got these little jig-jag things down at the bottom of them, right down here, that are colorful and semi-opaque, and you get light through them. And it's, this is solid, but not solid.
Are there
You-
words written on that?
I don't think so.
Sort of looks like there is at the
Yeah, I
top.
think it's mostly color. I can't quite tell. I can't quite remember. And so it's really interesting, but there's separation of space. So, because really, these are just big rectangles, How you separate it out is what's interesting. And then you can see right down this aisle, it like just leads you to the back. Do I need to do anything? It's all good? Great. So your eye is just like drawn to this back wall. So you don't want to just stop at these interesting little angled alleyways that she's got set up, but you're just drawn to the back. It's really inviting. And-
Maureen, what is the flooring material? What are we looking at there?
Well, you're looking at a raised floor, first of all, and I don't know,
Do you think it was
tiles.
material similar to that?
Yeah.
I thought there was a
Similar.
picture of the laying of tiles on one of the.
There probably is, yeah. And this is some of the signage right here, like for holidays. It's just really straightforward and really nice. So instead of like, I really liked it. And these things are solar tubes. Those are so cool. So they amplify the light that's coming in. There's all kinds of like reflective things on the inside. They were brighter than the indoor lights. They were amazing. And then these books, you could see these were all cooking. So instead of like 641.5 or whatever, you just see cooking.
So they probably, their book selection, they have to make sure they fit in the categories.
Well, no, that's not how you select things. It never worked with Dewey. It's not going to work with this either. There's always going to be those things that, like, you know, are not elegantly selected, but they have to go somewhere, right?
Travel memoirs.
Yeah. This thing in the center, that's like a DVD checkout machine.
Like a red box?
It's like a red box. You have to check out your thing on hold is like right behind where that person is standing. Your DVD on hold. And then you check it out at the self-check right there in the center, and then the disc comes out.
Comes out there.
And that's how she gets around some of the security gate issues, because DVDs are one of the most commonly stolen items.
Is that technology that's widely out there that
Yeah.
you feel?
Well, it's super expensive, and apparently she tried like 4 different kinds before she was satisfied with the machinery. So this is just a seating area in front of the children's wall. Here's these desks again. This material, this opaque material, it was really nice. She had like a grass pattern in it, but another place she had a different pattern. And it's called something form, and I don't know the name of it. Do you know the name of that stuff? I love it because it lets light through, but it creates a really nice different space. And then, right, this is the teen area down here. Backpacks for teens. Great idea. And then a green screen.
Love
It's a
that.
separate room. It wasn't being staffed when we were there. But I love this sign too. The computer lab is a whisper zone. That's so much nicer than like no talking, no, slash, shh, no cell phones, whatever. Just she really tried to use different language, and that was more appealing. You can kind of see on this picture here that this is not grass. These are more reedy things. So it created just a little bit different look, which was nice.
Still has all the computers kind of in a row. Well, no, here's a.
Yeah, they're not. But the tables are just a little bit. They're not really like straight. And then you can see the shelves are kind of modular. I love the shelving so much. The problem is that these guys don't have earthquakes. We have earthquakes. So anything above like 4 feet or whatever has to be like nailed to the ground. And so that kind of starts limiting you a little bit. And so that's Pam, the library director, who I'm trying to get out here in Oregon to talk to lots of people, and Dennis and Sid, who you know. And some of this was just display stuff and signage above areas, little nooks.
How is the lighting? Is just those solar tubes and the.
There's some of this. No, there's some up high too.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all the wiring is under the raised floor. And so you could have the open beam look and everything.
That small blue stool, that's really nice between.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Really comfy. The thing is, they've got like all kinds of really cozy areas like that, and not everything matches or anything. It's like, not that it's random, but And then they have their own logo, which is this is a doodle.
So what?
That's a logo. That's a doodle.
Yeah.
Don't call it a scribble.
Thank you.
I like how those tables fit together.
Caught me just.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Like yin and yang. This is in the children's area. See those trees?
That's the children's area?
Yep. That's the children's area. See, these are like kind of like clouds hanging from the sky.
Yeah, there's
And-
one that is more, it's not, is there one lower down that is
The
lower
other
down?
area, their other library has a similar also idea.
Okay.
It could be that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. It's lower down and it's,
Okay.
opaque.
So this is all children's, and you could see they even went with more with the Kirby thing and the lower shelves, and
It's nice in children's, it's quite clean looking though. It's
Very-
not cluttered looking
very
at all.
very open,
I
very
like the
open.
children's.
It was great. And then they even have incorporated outside into it.
That's nice.
And they have like discovery spots outside. They have like a big fire pit outside. They have a concert spot outside. Maybe it's their fireplace goes in and out, inside, outside. And then they have baby chicks on display. And then their sorter.
Okay.
So, I mean, I just really, really love that library.
That's an automated sorter?
Yeah, that's
So then there has to be some kind of barcode then on the books?
Their RFID tag.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Just because you have the RFID tag does not mean that you don't also use barcodes.
Yeah.
They have both.
All right.
And why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Okay, here we go. Albums. So, let's look at the Douglas County one really fast. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but some of you were not very successful in looking at these. So this is the remodeled Safeway.
Oh.
And they, huh?
They have light.
They have lots of light. Well, it's Colorado. They had just redone their colors. So their color is this blue and green. And so like you walk up to this thing and you feel like you're at a movie theater. It looks so professional. And then their outside book drop is right there. And they added, this is the addition to the Safeway. And so they added it with a little bit of curve into it to have some interest.
Will we have colors, do you think?
I don't know. That's a really good question. We have to have some main colors for the building inside, if nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
You walk in and there's your drop box to get rid of your materials. I mean, that's automated one. And you come in and there's your popular reading materials right away. And there's your, over in this picture, there's your self-checks.
Is this one also a bookstore? Does this have the Dewey system?
No.
Or is it?
No, it doesn't. This doesn't have the Dewey system. So there were things I liked about this. One of them, look at this door.
Yeah.
It's the half-size door going into the kids' room. It's
I wish
so,
they had rounded the top though.
well, you
Yeah.
could probably do that.
I love it.
It was really clever. And the kids' room wasn't as big as it needed to be, so they like, these places have evolved. It's just like your house. They're like, you change things over time. It's just like us being at the Carnegie. We went into it thinking we're going to use one space one way, and we ended up changing it. Things happen. But they did wish they had more children's area space. Sorry, that one picture is in sideways. This I took a picture of because this library director, his name was Jamie LaRue, and he just retired, but he's like kind of one of these real big wigs nationally, really creative. He had a sponsor for every single space in there. Like a business had given them bunches of money for each of those rooms. I was very, very impressed.
How big was this library?
This was pretty big. If you can picture an old Safeway, this was probably around 40,000 square feet on one level. Maybe not quite that big.
And still their children's room wasn't big enough.
Yeah, and it wasn't. This is their local history. They actually have an arrangement with their local history group, like the people who are at Moot, to like house everything in the library. I'm kind of glad we don't have to. It's nice and it's not nice.
It's nice for the public.
Yeah. Quiet, please, minds at work. See how you can say things that are like, more gentle? They had a revolving door going into the teen room. I thought that was really interesting. And here's their teen room. Linda, there's those chairs I was telling you about. They've been really, really good for like 12 years or
Golly
something.
clock.
And I just, how we post things is kind of like a problem because we never have enough space. And I just really like, these are those clear things that you stick things in. And they didn't have that much more space either, but it was pretty neat. And then here's their RFID sorter, and then their used bookstore, their friend's bookstore. And then all this stuff is like administration, And then they also use these kinds of desks.
Can you show the one that has the tree entrance?
To the children's room?
Was that to the children's room? I was
Yep.
curious about that. But the one that had the green on the top and then those Bart.
Yeah, that is, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. Now this is another anything
Yeah.
library.
I
and
love
so
this one.
a lot of this is similar to the Wright Farms, but these are the trees.
Yeah, the trees are so cool.
They're so cool. So they did the Wright Farms one first. You know, they had the trees in the children's room. Well, this director, her name's Pam Smith, she
Make it
said,
interactive.
I want a tree house in my children's room. And Dennis said, oh, well, Pam, you know, there's a few issues with that. First of all, a tree house is usually off the ground, and that means that it's not accessible to certain kids, and other kids are going to fall out and hurt themselves. So
Perfect.
what about trees? So they did the aspen trees. But then they did this branch, and she said, I still want treehouse. So they came up with this idea. So what you can
Great.
do is you can like walk in between these panels. They go all the way to the ceiling.
And they have holes
And
in
each
them.
one, like this one, you're looking up at the night sky there. Each one has a different theme. So you walk in between these things, and you can like see the stars of the night sky. This one was frogs. You go in and you hear frogs. It was so great. There was pillows in there on the floor. You could just go in and kind of a darkened environment, quiet.
And this is the kids area.
This is in this.
The entrance.
This is in between. There's two entrances to the kids area, and this is one of the entrances.
Scroll
to the
down
kids.
because there's that one picture that has the good. The other one I like is I love the low. There it is. You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it right
and
there.
I love the clouds low
Yeah,
down.
here's the cloud.
That's better implemented than the earlier one, but the same
The
idea.
other one was
I
just
it.
like the frame of
Yeah,
it, and this
I
one is
like.
more solid.
It makes it cozier.
Yeah, it makes it a little cozier for little guys.
Brings the lights down too.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of lighting, like in one
So
area they
cool,
had all
yeah.
these drop lights, just a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Well, and that didn't have to be like elsewhere. It was just there for whatever reason. It was perfect for right there. These windows were so interesting because it wasn't just plain glass. It was like, you know,
Bubbles.
bubbles. And how fun are bubbles? You
You're in
know?
submarine.
How fun are bubbles? Okay, so here we have those tables and the chairs again, just like at the other place. The curbs, the beautiful display areas. Here's more trees. So here you can see the actual tree tops, which is kind of nice. It was just in windows at different places, different heights. Here's a different part of the building that had stuff
makerspace there?
hanging down. Huh?
Oh, no, I guess it's not.
This is a computer lab over here.
Is that a makerspace with the scissors?
I can't remember what was going on there, actually. What did I label it? Nope. Mm-mm.
Well, you got the scissors, you got the gamepad, you got the chemistry.
Yeah, so it's probably the teen area is what it was, I think. That's what a lot of this was. So there is this board up that says, before I die, fill in the blank. Well, you can imagine what teens would say. It was all over the board, actually. It was really interesting.
Is that an upside down umbrella?
A quiet office, you know, so that it's clearly defined, you know. We want quiet here, but we don't have to have quiet everywhere.
What's that blue thing on the left?
This
Yeah.
is their RFID sorter. The AMH, the Automated Materials Handler. Yeah. AMH, remember
is
that
that-
acronym.
Is that then connected to the drop-off place then?
Most of them are. Now, you know, at Fort Vancouver, they're not.
Really?
No. Staff picks them up and brings them there and
Schleps
puts them
them
on
around, yeah.
one by one and they prefer it that way. They've
Okay.
designed it that way. So.
Better safety handling.
Yeah, well, and because then if you like put them on properly, then they're going to catch every single one. But if you like put them on in a mess,
Okay.
it may not check in every single.
Gotcha.
You know, it can't do miracles. So
Right. I mean, I know checking out stuff in Multnomah County, you know, you can put a stack of things down in their reader, and it's going to catch 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But you still got to put that last one down.
yeah, and you still have to pay attention to the readout too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's still staff required at both ends. So I would say that. Let me just show you really, really fast. Albums. The 21C thing was crazy because it wasn't finished, and I really want to go back in. My 40th reunion is supposed to be in July, and these guys open in June. And I really want to go back and see it furnished and talk to the library director and see how she thinks it's being implemented. So this was the end of the building where it was like all the business stuff. So all these rooms are dedicated to business, about to here.
Is that real wild carpet supposed to indicate Native American maybe? Sort of
I don't think so. Some of it's supposed to be a little bit pathfinding. And, I mean, you could kind of follow the orange along certain ways, and,
Oh, okay.
I mean, you wouldn't follow it literally, but, you know,
Draws your eye.
draws your eye.
I have a question about the business area.
Yeah.
Is that merely a service to the community, or does she rent it out to supplement income?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think most of it is available, but some of the conference center stuff there might be a fee. Most of these people, though, what I was picking up from them is they don't distinguish between profit or nonprofit. They just say, this is how we're gonna do it, and do flat fees. A lot of libraries have, like, we'll do free if you're nonprofit, and if you're gonna make money off of this, we're not sure you can come in and all that. So there's a lot to think about with like meeting rooms of any sort. But that's a good question, I just don't remember.
Is this a district? I mean,
This is Pikes Peak Library District, yeah.
okay.
It's in Colorado Springs. So this little area here is like one of those areas where, like, when MCI was there, they had a lot of plants along there. And it's like, okay, now we have it, what are we gonna do with it? So it's too steep for story time because these are kind of like actually big steps here. But, you know, they're just trying to be really creative about, you know, maybe performance kind of situation. Yeah.
Readings.
So I mean, you could just see how massive it is.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, huge. This is like their logo, kind of, what do you call that? Kind of matrixy.
Pixelated?
Looks like a QR
Pixelated.
code. Looks like a QR
Minecraft.
It
code.
looks like a QR code, but it's not. But it's their logo kind of pixelated. That is the Pikes Peak right there.
Is that what the orange is in the carpet too?
Maybe.
Because look up.
I know, you see it, yeah, it's very much that shape.
It's Minecraft.
And this is like the hanging extension cords from the ceiling, which I thought was so cool.
Huh.
And there's her, man, she's a pistol, let me tell you. She has actually got, her parents' health is failing, so she's actually moving to Baltimore Public Library or something, like in August. So it's kind of really sad because she's building this thing and then she won't really get to see it used much.
Not for a while.
But she was awesome. So, well, let me just take you to, without making you too dizzy, to the children's area, if I can find it. They were doing some cool things. Nope, I lost it. I know I took a picture of it. Well, maybe you can see it. See these panels?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the entrance to the children's area. Those are like reused windows that they took and they created panels out of. And it creates like a open kind of barrier. You know, it's like, it's very open. They're just as thick as a glass, that's all, you know. But you can kind of go in and out of it, and then back by the orange walls, that's where the children's area is going to be.
Okay.
The other thing they had at a couple places, stroller parking. Oh my God, I love that
good
idea
idea.
so
Good
much.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is kind of hard to envision because it's just a lot of open space, you know what I mean? But, I mean, of course, she was there walking with us and telling us what each thing is going to be, and she was so excited about it. It was so, there's Pikes Peak out the window, right there. That's the view. It's amazing. I mean, I'm a little bit fond of that view, but anyway. Anyway, do you want to look at any of the other ones, or?
Is this on the Flickr? Sorry.
Let me send that to you.
You might.
Do you
I
have
think
one
I
with
did.
One with an old Carnegie?
The other thing is like, you probably don't necessarily have to log into it either.
You sent us the link to the Flickr,
Yeah.
and I didn't do it yet, so I wasn't sure
I
if
tried,
this
they
is what's
wanted, they wanted
there.
me to sign up immediately. I didn't want to do that.
Well, you can just
it worked
sign
for
in
me.
using my thing.
You signed in.
I
I
gave-
tried that, and they wanted your, remember, they wanted your password and your
She gave
personal
it to
information,
us.
your social security card.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, so.
So you wanted to look at one of the Carnegies?
Well, that's just an idea.
So there were two Carnegies that we looked at. One was in Denver, and when they did an addition, they made it the same height as the original Carnegie, but they put 2 floors where 1 floor was in the original. They put 2 floors in the new one. So the old one is so gorgeous. It was stunning. It was amazing, the ceiling and the work. And then you can see here, This is the old arches, probably going outside, and there's the addition on the other side. And this is like a mezzanine level, and this level here, you feel like your head's going to get squished. It's so low.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated it with all my guts. I was like, no, we are not doing anything like
Yeah, I
this.
can see that.
And it was just like a demonstration of what some people have done, you know? But I hated it. So if you're up above, this is what it looks like up above. It's kind of like,
Wow.
there's the open area that looks down right here into the, down over the mezzanine
When was
level.
that done? Can you, was it?
I can't remember when the addition was done. And then they had a full basement. And the outside stuff, oh my God, it was so gorgeous. I just had to take a bunch of pictures.
Is that on the addition of the old building?
On the old building, all the beautiful stuff is on the old building.
Can we see the other one? Other Carnegie?
Yeah. Albums. Okay, the other old Carnegie's in Colorado Springs. And it was really, really nice. But a bunch of their stuff was reproductions. So like these shelves were reproductions, and they were just so stately and so gorgeous. Now these, they looked pretty new too. I don't know.
Card catalogs?
Back here would be the original main entrance.
Are those card catalogs?
Yeah, those are card catalogs.
Really?
The real stunning feature of this is this round room.
Yes.
My God.
It was so stunning, and they weren't even using it for anything.
Really?
Yeah,
Give it to us.
I know. And some of this stuff might be original, this might be original, but like all the shelves and were reproductions. And there's the picture of the old room, how it used to be set up. And then you go downstairs, right? So this is in the basement. And I walked in and I said, okay, there's our tribute to the covered wagon, the vaulted roof.
Yeah.
I loved it. It looked so nice. It looked really, really good. And then downstairs, again, this wall is all round, right? So look at these study spots. And they were lit and they were beautiful. And it was just amazing. So this spiral staircase, they used to have most of the collections downstairs, and the librarians would have to run up and down these stairs in their long skirts. That was their only access
Calves
or
of
something.
steel, right?
But it was really, it's a gorgeous Carnegie, but it doesn't really join up to the original building in any kind of stunning way. I mean the addition, which was built in 1967, which is the same year I moved to Colorado Springs. Yeah,
Coincidentally.
I know. And I thought it had been built way later, but it was because way later was when I gained awareness of it, when I could drive myself down there, you know, or whatever, you know.
Do they use card catalogs?
No,
Oh,
no.
wonder what's in those.
I can't remember. Maybe nothing, but they have them there for show. And again, that Carnegie is one of the bigger ones that got one of the bigger sums of money from Carnegie. You know, like
That's why it looks that
50,000,
way.
60,000, something like that, instead of like the 10,000 average that most people got. And it was really a showcase. I mean, it was gorgeous. But I mean, they put a lot of money into updating or, you know, kind of renovating it. So anyway, that's my show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very welcome.
Very cool.
I'll just leave that there until we leave, so we don't have to look at blank space.
Okay, so communications. Linda?
You know, when I come, officially I'm not representing Friends, but I was just at the meeting, so. And I would say the biggest focus at the Friends meeting was we're looking for a different space perhaps for the bookstore. So if anybody's aware of anything, you know, it may be for this year, it may be for another year. That would be the focus there.
How many square feet do you need?
Well, it depends who you ask.
Thank you.
Not more, something so we make money, Don.
They have about 3,000 now.
Now,
Okay, well,
yes.
okay, all right.
So less than that, we hope. At least I do. Saturday, the PAC did a canvas, door to door. My husband did that. Claire did it.
Mo did it?
Mo did it. I didn't know that. Oh, see? I didn't get those facts from my husband.
He saw me.
He did, okay. apparently he asked, and there was about 35 people doing the canvas, and it was very well organized.
Wow.
Wendell Baskin did the organization, and it went really well. I was working at the farmer's market at the same time, and I talked to like everybody that stopped. Do you live in the city? Are you going to vote for me? So I had my little patter down, so. And I already said I have yard signs if anybody else, if you live in the city, in the car. And then the foundation, now this is boring when I say three different things. All right, the foundation, we're just gearing up so that we're going to start working really, really hard and being really, really well organized. And we have had such a gift that Karen Martini joined us.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
She is great. She has the knowledge. It was a lot of hard work for
She
me.
was on the
She
foundation
has-
of CCC?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
she
right.
was the executive director. And she was on the library board when I joined the library board when I moved into town. And so she has lots of wisdom from lots of places, and she has
Good.
lots of enthusiasm, and she and I are working together really well, and it's going very well. And so we're really happy about that. And so we're, you will be invited to our end of June meeting, and I hope you would seriously consider this time coming.
So it's June 23rd, right?
Exactly.
Just in case saving the
You want to
date
put it
might
on your,
work well.
on your,
At what time?
I think it's going to be at 7 rather than 6.
Yeah, I don't know.
Usually have ours at 6, but I think it's going to be at 7, so that it's a better time for you guys. Please consider, and she's laid out a letter and everything, so
What kind of
we're
a
not
date?
sending it out until
What kind of a day is that?
Monday?
Monday.
A Monday, okay. I can make that.
Is that here, Karen? Linda?
No, I think, I don't know if all the arrangements are set, so I,
Hasn't been established yet.
yeah, so I don't think I should say where it's at, so. I don't want to embarrass anybody in case
Yeah,
it
in case
falls
it's,
through.
that's a good idea.
And there will be other community leaders invited, people with good ideas, so it's going to pick your brain type session, and Karen's got it all planned, and we'll have it really good. And so we're hoping, that our major fundraiser is 2015. So what else should I say about the foundation?
Well, just that the fundraising for that is, it's planned on being in a finite period of time. So like the year of 2015, you don't just do it forever, because people wear out.
Right.
So that's the plan. We wanted to wait until we really had a project, was really up and running, and there's all kinds of infrastructure to put in place on something like
Yes.
this, so that when you do approach people, you're very professional, you know what you're talking about and all that stuff. So
We're
that's what
excited.
we're doing now. And Claire's involved in that,
Right.
been huge. Been
Brian
great.
Johnson, who was here before.
Yeah,
was
former
on
library
it.
board
Harriet,
member.
who was on the library.
And Steve
before.
Milner, the veterinarian,
Yep.
he's great.
He's great. He's our
He's our
breath of
idea
fresh air.
man. Yeah.
Puts a smile on our face.
Oh, he's fantastic.
So, I think that's about all.
I think that's
Unless
all.
you have questions.
Great, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Moving on to future agenda items. Is there anything that anyone wants to put on for next month's meeting? Do we want to revisit the parking conversation for that?
I want to stay on top of it,
Yeah,
for
talk
sure.
about it.
Okay.
So-
I can
Make
report
sure that's
back.
on there, yeah.
And I think since we'll know where we are at that meeting.
We'll know a lot more by next month.
Yeah.
We will not have had our CMGC interviews by then, but we'll be in the process of that, so.
And the bond will pass.
Well, that's just it. We'll
That's right.
know one way or the other, that's for sure.
Do we get champagne?
I'm not counting chickens, but I've got a good feeling.
If any of you want to join the victory party, the election night party, it's going to be at Midway Pub at 8 o'clock.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That's
On
good to know.
Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Will we know results by then?
Yep, we'll be able to pull them up. There's TVs and people have computers and
Great,
smartphones.
sounds fun.
Apparently by 8 o'clock that night, a lot of, like 3/4 of the results are typically already in and counted, so we'll have a pretty good idea at that point.
Right. Any other items to bring up? call the meeting closed at 6:26 p.m.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next.